Someone expects disappointment, so they stop fully investing effort. And eventually, their behavior creates outcomes matching the internal prediction. This is how unconscious self-talk shapes reality. The mind believes what it hears repeatedly. Now think about how exhausting this becomes emotionally. A person carries an internal critic everywhere they go. Constant judgment, constant pressure, constant doubt. Even achievements become temporary because the internal voice immediately shifts the standard again. Nothing feels enough. And eventually, the person begins identifying with the critic itself. But here is the important realization. You are not the voice. You are the awareness hearing the voice. That distinction changes everything. Because once awareness separates from thought, thought loses absolute authority. This is where true transformation begins. Not by forcing positive thinking, not by pretending fear does not exist, but by observing thought consciously instead of obeying it automatically. Thoughts are mental events, not commands. Read that internally again. Thoughts are mental events, not commands. Most people never learn this. So every fearful thought feels personal. Every anxious thought feels predictive. Every limiting thought feels true. But the mind produces thousands of thoughts automatically. Some useful, some conditioned, some irrational, some repetitive. Awareness allows discernment. Without awareness, the person becomes controlled by mental noise. With awareness, space appears between the observer and the thought. And in that space, freedom begins. Now imagine a fearful thought appearing. You are going to fail. Most people instantly merge with it emotionally. But awareness changes the process. Instead of, I am going to fail, the person begins noticing, my mind is producing fear. That small shift creates separation. And separation weakens identification. The moment you observe a pattern, you weaken its control. This is why awareness is so powerful psychologically. It interrupts unconscious fusion with thought. Now, this does not mean the mind becomes silent immediately. The conditioned voice may continue repeating old patterns for some time. But repetition without identification gradually weakens. Because thoughts survive through emotional reinforcement. When observation replaces automatic belief, conditioning begins dissolving. This is one of the deepest forms of liberation inside the matrix. Not controlling every thought, but no longer being unconsciously controlled by thought. Pause for a moment and think honestly about this. How many decisions in your life were influenced by internal predictions that never turned out to be true? How many fears were imagined? How many insecurities were exaggerated? How many limitations were rehearsed mentally before reality even occurred? That realization changes people deeply, because they begin recognizing how often the mind creates emotional prisons through anticipation alone. Now here comes another important truth. The internal voice becomes stronger through repetition, but awareness becomes stronger through practice as well. A person who consistently observes thoughts without automatic identification begins developing emotional clarity. Fear still appears. Doubt still appears. Uncertainty still appears. But the thoughts lose absolute control. The person begins choosing consciously instead of reacting automatically. That is mental sovereignty, not the absence of thought. Freedom from unconscious obedience to thought. The mind believes what it hears repeatedly, which means intentional internal dialogue matters enormously.